but how's the Amazing Race? Like, how did you even apply?
You just apply like a normal like application.
We've known each other since we were kids, family friends, been through the whole rigmarole of being best mate.
Normally, but the funny thing about it is that the time when Amazing Race started was the time that my business partner Femi and I started like a business. We started a venture and we were going through a very, very stressful time.
It's very hard to see us kind of like overly flustered.
I feel like we can actually win this. And I still to this day feel like we could have. I just had a bit of a hiccup.
Shalom, hurry up. Coming. Hey guys, welcome back to Migrantics. So if you're new here, this is pretty much the place to be if you are a migrant looking to live overseas, or if you're already living somewhere that is not your home, so your home away from home. This season is going to be a little bit different. We have guests over, and our first guest here today is Nick. Where are you from?
So I'm from Nigeria. I was born here. So my parents are from Benin City, which is like the Edo state. So the tribe that I'm from is Edo, the Edo tribe. Yeah.
I've never heard of like...
Yeah, some of the common tribes that you probably see, especially now with like Afro beats and you know, Nigeria taking over the world as we do. You're probably quite familiar with like Yoruba tribe. That's probably like one of the most dominant tribes in Nigeria. Yeah. There's a lot of them there. So our tribe is, to us, our history is very rich in terms of the Edo state. There's not many in Australia.
Okay.
Yeah, so...
Because, yes, Yoruba or Igbo.
Yeah, those are the common ones, but there's Edo there too in Benin City.
This is me being very ignorant because I don't know anything about Nigeria, you know? What language do you speak? Is it...
My language is Edo.
Edo.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
okay.
that's my language. Yeah, but there's like over like 200 languages in Nigeria.
Yeah.
So like you know Femi, for example, he's Yoruba. We don't speak the same language. He speaks Yoruba.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Can you actually speak?
I can't speak Edo. Okay. And you know what's frustrating about it as well is that, because I really wanted to try learn, and I don't know if you've ever... Well, you obviously speak the language, but for maybe some other people, when you ask your parents to teach you, because they never taught me when I was young, and they talk about it now, and they're like, wow, that's my biggest regret. So when they try to teach me now, they have no patience. Yeah. So I'm never going to learn from them. So I'm like, okay, let me go try source my own one.
Yeah.
And there's nothing online for Edo. There's just Yoruba, Igbo, but nothing for Edo. So...
That's crazy. Might as well just search a whole, like...
Well, I have no choice now. I have to go to my parents, so...
Is it something you actually really want to learn?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. It's actually like... It's always been important to me, but I think as I get older now, I realize like that whole identity shift and the culture back home and feeling like because we're planning to go back home at the end of this year and just feel like even like the feelings around going back home where it's like I've actually been there before.
You've never been there?
I've never been there, no. So it'll be my first time. Yeah, so it'll be my first time going there. I haven't really met much of my relatives. I haven't met them. I've only met like one. So this will be like a kind of like a fresh start.
It's crazy.
So it's meant to be home, but it's not. So it's just like even navigating that's been interesting. So yeah, like I'm really like, okay, now I'm like, okay, let's do it. Let's really get like enriched in my culture, my background and everything.
I still have been to Nigeria.
I've been to Zimbabwe.
Oh, yeah.
I've been to Zimbabwe and I've been to Malawi.
To be honest, you've been everywhere around the world.
I've been most places around. I'm not everywhere, but I've been to quite a few places. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was because obviously of the amazing race.
That played a part, but it wasn't like the massive part of okay, this added to my countries. But yeah.
Did it not?
It helped me.
When else would you have been like to
Zimbabwe?
Yeah.
It definitely wouldn't be my first place.
Yeah. Like
it feels weird that I've been to Africa, but I didn't go to Nigeria. Like that feels a bit weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, if I don't know, Zimbabwe probably wouldn't have been on my to-do list for a while. Yeah. Except for like Vic Falls, which was very nice. Like that's why you go there.
Do you know, guys, like you talk shit about Zim.
I don't. I actually like the way Zim operates. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, you going to tell them your story?
I'm not going to tell my story.
Yeah.
I have no story about Zim.
Yeah. Okay. So you did the Amazing Race. I want to ask you about the Amazing Race. Yeah. But you told me when you went to Zim, the way they kind of, like you asked me this, I was just like, I've never seen this before. About how they greeted you in Zim with the whole spit take thing.
With the what?
The spit take thing.
Spit take?
Yeah.
What's that?
Are you putting me at the
spit take?
Yeah, didn't you say like they dressed like somewhere somehow and then they threw something at you, no?
Oh yeah, they did. They did.
Okay, so I was like, am I going crazy?
I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. When we got there, they like spat on us. Yeah.
What do you mean they spat on you?
Like they drank something. It was like psh, like they sprayed us with something. I wasn't sure what it was.
Yeah.
And I did explain because I wasn't sure. You still didn't answer that question. So I don't know.
What incident was this?
This was literally at the airport. Like obviously keep it in mind that it's the Amazing Race, so whoever they brought was obviously like relative to the nation or to you know, they brought somebody there. Like it wasn't like a natural greeting for everybody.
Yeah.
But obviously it was for the TV. I just didn't know what it was about. No one explained it to me.
No, nobody has ever spoken.
And I still want to know what it is. Now that you brought that back up, I'm like, yeah, that did happen, and no one actually told me why or what that's about. I actually have no idea.
Harare or Victoria Falls?
Yeah, in Harare.
Look, I feel like they did that for the show.
They must have done it for the show, but I feel like it would also be kind of low-key racist to do that in the show in Africa. So there had to be a reason.
It's amazing, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
I don't know. Nobody has ever spit on me, and I've never heard of somebody getting spit on.
I think that may be because how many, like, you guys have tribes in Zimbabwe?
Clans, yeah.
Yeah, our clans is the...
Tribe clans,
yeah.
You know.
So is that like something in, like, that's tribal?
From the Shona culture, because my people are Shona and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like a Shona thing. And I don't think it's a Ndebele thing, which is the other tribe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could be wrong, because I don't know much about the Ndebele.
Well, maybe if someone can give me some insight, I'd love to hear it, because I forgot all about it, but now that you brought that back up, I'm quite interested.
Yeah, I would even discuss it, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Like, why?
There you go.
Yeah, but how's the Amazing Race? Like, how did you even apply?
You just apply like a normal like application normally, but the funny thing about it is that the time when Amazing Race started was the time that my business partner Femi and I started like a business. We started a venture, and we were going through a very, very stressful time. It just wasn't working out. Because we were so stressed, we forgot that the applications were going to close. So we realized at like 4:55, applications closed at 5 o'clock. 5 p.m. I got 5 minutes to submit an application.
Yeah.
We had not thought about it. Obviously, we were stressed, so we went in the right frame of mind. And we're like, fuck, let's just put it together, get over and done with and move on. So we literally did not script. We did not dress anything. I was nursing at the time. So I was in my nursing uniform. Femi was just chilling. And we're just like, fuck it, let's just turn the camera on and record something and then just see what happens. So first recording that we did, we just sent it. And we just probably in our head, we're just like, look, we're probably going to get it anyway. Like, this is so trash.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, we get caught up for the second audition. And that was like an in-person one. And even still, same attitude. Just very laid back, casual, didn't really think much of it. Like, I dressed, like, this is how I dressed to it. And then when you rocked up there was people that full had their own gimmicks created. Like, they had like, they were like models or princesses, whatever they were dressed up as. They had people with like riding and stuff. They had things full planned. They were like, fuck, we've got nothing planned. We're not even dressed together. And we kind of forgot that this is a TV show with a person, so like I feel like they're kind of looking for those type of things. I felt so we're like, fuck, we're definitely not gonna get it because we're just dressing like this, like nothing, like I'm just walking in the city, I'm just chilling. I'm literally just chilling. But I think that's what they liked about us, because we were just literally ourselves. They were asking like, oh, what are you gonna do with the money? Everyone had like some nice story about like how they're gonna change the world and do all these things. So I'm like, honestly, I don't know. I have no idea. I haven't thought about it. Maybe just pay off my mortgage. I didn't even have a mortgage at the time. Just making up something. I'm like, I've got nothing crazy to do with this money. $250,000. Yeah. So it was like, but to be fair, like it's not even life-changing money, to be fair. Like it's good. I would have liked it, but it's not like, oh my gosh, now if I win this money, fuck, my life's going to change. Like I'm definitely still working a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And then, we just did that, go through those processes, had a psychologist screening afterwards, and then before you know it, boom, got on the show.
So how did you actually like prepare for it?
For the show?
Yeah, because it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, I honestly so what Femi and I did, I don't know if this is like the formula, but what we did is that we watched a lot of past shows to kind of understand what type of challenges you could be forced to do. So we did a lot of like challenges and activities that would have Femi and I working together just so we can better improve the way that we collaborate with each other. We did a lot of like escape rooms to see how we can work and do things under pressure. Femi didn't know how to swim, so he bought himself in swimming lessons. I didn't know how to drive a manual car, and I thought that I might drive manual because I saw in previous episodes. I was doing a lot of manual driving. I did lessons.
Oh, so you can drive a stick now?
Yeah, I don't, but I can.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Just all those kind of things, really. I felt like physically, like from like a fitness perspective, I felt pretty fit already. So I wasn't really too concerned there. I did do a bit of running and stuff, but I knew the whole time it wasn't going to be like that. It wasn't Survivor. Yeah. So I knew that wasn't the biggest deal. But yeah, that's kind of the stuff that I did.
Femi didn't swim with that shot.
He did. Of course. He didn't. He didn't. Of course.
He did not swim.
He did not swim. There was one swimming activity like that was barely swimming. Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, you do it, eh?" So I did it myself. Obviously.
I can't judge. I can't swim too.
To be honest, it was just funny to like because he was really committed. Like we lived in Blacktown, he would drive to like Olympic Park to go do these swimming lessons. It was just so funny. Like we were really committed. We were really committed because like we're gonna give it our best shot. And I honestly felt like when we got in, I'm like, I feel like we can actually win this. And I still to this day feel like we could have. I just had a bit of a hiccup that cost us the race, but that's a different story.
No, let's get
that's a different story. That's a different story. I don't want to. What podcast is this?
It's okay to like to remind yourself what happened so that you can.
Oh, I know. I've processed it.
So process it with us. Like, tell us. Maybe
you know what you can do. You can watch it. You can watch. Now, basically, long story short, it was like a roadblock, which meant that only I can do it. I can't get help from anybody else. And the activity was to build sandals, but like you had to build them with like a tire, all these like weird things that you wouldn't normally use to build a sandal. And I'm very shit when it comes to like making stuff. Like I'm very, very shit. Yeah. So I couldn't do it. Yeah. And then all these other teams were just pumping me like it was easy because we were smashing that whole leg until we got to that point. Yeah. And I just couldn't do it with the glue or that creativity art. So I'm like, this is not me. Like if you were, some people go for like activities and they go do like what's it called, paint and sip. They do it. I can't do that. Some people do it and it looks good. Mine's terrible. I'm not an arts person at all. So when that was the task, I'm like, man, we fucked up. I cannot do this. And that cost us the race.
It happens,
It happens, But hey, that was like how long now? 6 years ago. That's a long time now.
What do you mean?
A race happened like 6 years ago.
It feels like it was like 3 years ago.
No.
To me.
To you?
Yeah.
No. Oh, no, it's probably 5 years ago, realistically. 5 years ago, yeah.
Because it was right before COVID.
Right before COVID, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. It was a very, very long time ago. So, yeah. I mean, if they do it again, I'd love to go back. But
they're probably going to do like, all those reality shows are doing like, let's have like past participants do it.
Well, that's what I'm hoping. If they do like an All-Stars, I'd definitely like to be nominated for it. But if not, what can you do?
It is what it is.
I'm never going to apply again to do it. Like, there has to be a reason. It has to be like Love Island, sometimes they bring back all these old contestants. Yeah. They need to do something like that. I could not apply again and be like, oh yeah, I've already done this and there's no other All-Stars but me. There's no way. But I doubt that would happen though.
Because you don't want to lose twice.
It's not that I don't want to lose twice. It's just that because I probably wouldn't lose the second time. But it's just that how embarrassing. After 5 years, you're still trying to come back to this show. Like I couldn't do that.
I feel like people wouldn't care.
You don't reckon? Australians are haters. Australians are haters. They notice that and they'll be like, oh, this guy's actually really doing nothing with his life. Oh my gosh, still trying to apply for reality TV shows. Like, nah.
Yeah, do you know how many disclaimers are now put out on this podcast just because of the amount of hate I've been getting?
Disclaimers? About what?
Like, bro, 3 episodes ago, I told you about my mom, right?
Yeah.
Border control stopped her because she was bringing in, beans and stuff.
Yeah.
So they checked it, right?
Yeah.
I literally said, they checked it. It was a funny situation. Mom learned her lesson. Then on TikTok...
They're like, how dare you try to bring something like that into our country?
Yeah, if you don't like the country, leave. And I'm like... I never said anything.
Yeah, you gotta be careful. Like people take everything out of context. That's why I'm like, hey, shit. You can cut this whole bit out if you need to because I'm not trying to get any more hate. I love you guys. Australians aren't haters. I take that back.
It's funny. So what was your favorite part of The Amazing Race?
The favorite part? Yeah. Oh, man, honestly, I don't know. I always get asked that question, what was my favorite part? But there was just so many incredible moments that it's hard to distill it to just one thing.
What's your favorite country then?
I think my favorite country, I hate to say it, but I think I really enjoyed Zimbabwe. It was actually very nice. I think more so because...
Yeah, I don't know why you're lying.
I'm not lying. That was probably the best place. It was probably the best part of the race, mainly because it was Zimbabwe and Korea. Those two were very nice. Like Seoul was beautiful, but in Zimbabwe it was just something different. You know, I think just being like an African, knowing what I'm doing there in the country to begin with, and like the host and people that were like catering for us and hosting us, knowing that we were the only black team there, they were just very accommodating to us. Like there were times where, because the way that the show works is that when you're not racing, you're just chilling in your room.
Yeah.
You can't go anywhere. But the host was very nice to us and like, you know what? Let me get some two girls to take you around Big Fours. And they did that for Femi and I. The dinner was beautiful. The resort we were staying at was amazing, where all like the wildlife was. It was just great. Like it was just a very...
What do you mean two girls taking you?
Don't worry about it. Okay. Yeah, don't worry about it. You're trying to get visas and I played. But yeah, it was just nice, man. Like it was just really, really cool. My hair was going bush because the whole race goes for 6 weeks. So my hair was going crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, obviously I'm not gonna ask for a haircut in Korea. They see this hair and they're like, what the fuck? I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
But in Zimbabwe, I'm like, yo, give me an African guy to come cut my hair. And they got someone to come to the hotel, trimmed it up. It was just nice. It just felt comfortable. And even as we were racing, I felt like I had the support of the locals too. Like it was just cool. Yeah, I really liked it.
Because I think it's like being here is just like you only see black people like here and there. You don't see like a group.
A group like that. This is the majority.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you don't see that here, not at all.
Yeah, it's like if anything happens, like I know the country's gonna support
you.
Yeah,
exactly.
Even if we're not like the same people, it's like
Yeah, they get us. Like it's very like it's easy to empathize with each other. Like we just get it. It's just one of those things where you can't explain it, but like you just know. Because even in Australia, when I'm just walking around, you see another black guy from a black person, doesn't have to be a guy, and there's just that like mutual kind of like, what's up? Never seen you before ever, but it's just like, I know you don't get that.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just maybe it is just black guys. I don't really get it from females, I guess, upon reflection.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just always that thing. And I remember Sam used to always comment on it because it happened all the time.
Do you know what he told me? It was just like, why don't you greet like... She's like, oh, there's a black woman over there.
Yeah, but he's dumb. But he probably got that from the fact that every time with me, like I would always greet that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just one of those things.
Yeah, in my head, I'm just like, why would I greet a stranger?
Yeah,
I don't understand.
Yeah, that's just one of those things. But it wasn't obviously like I'd come up to you say hi. It was just more so a walking past. It was just like,
you're not
what's
acknowledging
up? Yeah, what's up? Yeah, what's goody? Okay. Yeah, sometimes it's a handshake. It just depends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how is it like? Because obviously you grew up here.
Yeah.
And how did you even come to be born in Australia?
Oh man, well my parents had a hell of a story coming to Australia. I think they came there when they were pretty young actually, maybe around in their 20s, I believe. So maybe in the 80s. I believe they came here, like late 70s, early 80s, they came here. Yeah, after my parents migrated over to this country, there wasn't that many Nigerians that migrated over with them. So it was a very small community that came. Yeah. And I remember there was even a time when my dad, they were just living in it. Because you know how, I don't know if you know much, or I don't really know much about it, but from what I've told, like in those days, like everything was super laxed. You know, like in terms of like the ID, Medicare, all that stuff that now if you try to do it, you will get butchered with. It wasn't really super stringent back then. So like of course my parents didn't have any of those things, but it wasn't like something that was classified as like an identification document. So they were pretty, as far as I understand anyway, it wasn't something that they were super strict on.
Why did they leave like Nigeria and stuff?
Why did they leave?
Yeah.
They just wanted a better life. Like they just knew that Australia was just going to be like a better life for them. And my mum was like, yeah, this is where we need to be.
Of all the countries, I'm like, this like not America, not the UK.
Well, I think that my dad was actually he loved China. My dad would always be in China actually. So I don't know if that was on the table. It's actually something I should ask him. But I think Australia just made sense. I think everybody in the community was like, yeah, we'll just go to Australia. It just made sense. Maybe there was something there about the migrated over there, but that makes it easier. I don't know. Or they had connections over there that just made it make sense for them.
Yeah.
But I remember there was a time, even during that whole time, that my dad actually got caught and they were going to deport him back to Nigeria. So I could have been born in Nigeria too, but he just happened, because he built really good like friendships and communities with people, because people were so nice back then. My dad always tells me, it's like it's very different to how things were now.
Yeah.
It just really helped him through it. And I think that they were even like willing to like, I don't even know if I should say this on camera, but they were willing to like forge identification documents to say like, oh no, I know this person. We've got a really good connection with each other. Like he's here, to really be able to help my dad get PR And then for me, it's PR to then help my mom get PR. And then that was it. It's a much long story, but they really struggled. They really struggled, like just trying to make ends meet before they got their actual permanent residency. Yeah.
Wow. And like, obviously you were born here, so all you knew was Australia.
Yeah.
Like, how did you like? I don't want to ask like, how did you perceive everything? Because it's very different. Like for me, it's like I came here as an adult. I'm like, yeah, cool. There's a whole other country for Black people.
Yeah.
Like, if I don't like this country, which I do, I love Australia very much.
Yeah.
I can always like go back home, you know. But this is your home.
No, this is home. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So how did I perceive this?
Yeah. How did you perceive like your parents? Obviously, kind of like, I don't say kind of like me, but kind of like very much first gen.
Yeah.
They know like, oh, this is Nigeria.
Yeah.
They can go back if they want to go back. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
But for you, it's just like, oh, you have no concept of that.
Yeah.
Nigeria.
Yeah. I think only now I start to kind of recognize that I have no concept of Nigeria now as an adult. But as a kid, it's like, yeah, this is just where you're at. Obviously, your parents would emphasize that, like, basically Australia, like you're living the dream here. Like if they'd always make comparisons, and the biggest threat would be like, if you keep fucking around or you're getting in trouble, like I'll send you back home. That was like, you don't want to go back there because that's where your whole life will change. So I guess for me, I already had that concept in my mind where it's like, okay, I'm living good here. This is like a country where there's so much opportunity. There's no struggle. We don't have to live in a farm. We don't have to struggle to make ends meet. Like this is all given to you here. So in my head growing up, I'm like, okay, well, I already know that my perception of home is that it's a struggle. Like this, it's tough back there, and this is good. So everything you want to do is to make sure you don't get deported, go back to Nigeria. You want to stay here.
Did you have a strong identity as a Nigerian, or did you kind of reject it a bit?
I didn't. I think when I was a kid, obviously, like really young, like I'm talking like primary school, when we're so like malleable, when we're just trying to like fit in, just trying to belong. I definitely was a stage in my life where I'm like, fuck, like I don't want to be Nigerian, or I don't want like. I remember one time I came home and I'm like, you know, Mom, like, why am I Black? Like, why am I this color? Yeah. Because like at home, it's like you'd get bullied at school for the color of your skin, or you'd always be perceived as someone different. Like even when they look at your hair, like, oh, your hair feels so cool. Like people are like, and people still make comments like that to this day, but it's just a little bit of like a ignorant comment, as in like, oh, okay, like hair shouldn't feel like this, or your hair feels so cool. But it's like, what does that mean? So it's like, is my hair completely different to your hair? Because none of you guys respond this way to that hair. So there was always comments like that, and you'd always get cold comments like, you know, you look like a monkey, or you look like a gorilla, or you'd be going and people would be like beating on their chest. And even like my surname, for example, would be one of those things where like they could just never pronounce. And it just made you think that like, why is everything so different? Why is everything so hard here? Like, why can't I just have like a simple Nick Smith, or like a name that everybody can just like everybody can just pronounce, you know? So like, because you'd go to like, you know, you're gonna get an award, but you're excited about the award, but you're anxious because you know they're gonna butcher your surname. So you're like, fucking, I'm really looking forward to it, because you're just gonna be like Nicholas, you're just like, bro, just give me the award and let me dip.
Do you know he like glances up at the thing?
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's me next.
Yeah, that's me next. You're like, fuck, here we go. So all of those kind of things, there was definitely a big identity shift. And I think that my parents were good though, in terms of being like, they never played into it, being like, oh, you should feel ashamed from where you're from. Like they always said like being Black is like, it's the best thing. Yeah. And I think you only realize that now as you get older, and especially with what's going on at the moment with the community and what Africa's doing in the world, you become so proud to be that. But definitely when I was young, like I think it was only until like really high school, not high school, maybe like late primary school, when I started to actually mingle with a lot more African people, that I felt like, okay, cool, like this is fresh. I like this. Okay. I felt more comfortable there.
But then if your parents came in like in the 1980s, for example,
they
probably were the only Black people around.
There weren't many. That's right. Yeah. There were not many at all. It was like I said, like the community, our Nigerian community when we came was very small. There was not many people that came with us. Yeah. I think my parents were hanging out with a lot of actually indigenous people, like a lot of Aboriginals. There were a lot of white people that were helpful, but I think that they did congregate to an indigenous community.
Yeah.
And they were very helpful. They used to look after my older brother, actually, because my mum would used to go work. She used to work in a warehouse, I believe. They would look after my older brother. And they, like, obviously, my parents can resonate with a lot of the things that they do that's native to their culture. Like, there's a little bit of, like, not obviously completely, but there's certain things that they could appreciate a bit more and they feel more comfortable there to how they live. So, I guess in my mom's mind, they felt like that was a good idea to do that. But it worked out, you know, it worked out really well.
Yeah, because all of you turned out all right.
Yeah, all of us turned out. Yeah, it turned out sweet. I have no complaints. I wouldn't change anything.
Yeah, because you guys are like, what, 5 siblings?
There's 4 of us.
4
of us. So we're a family of 6, and I'm the middle child. I got a younger sister, Bridget, and then.
You definitely give up middle child.
What's that mean?
You just give up middle child.
But what does that mean? I don't know. What's that mean?
It just means everybody ignores you at some point.
Everybody ignores me.
At some point.
Ignores me? Is that what that means?
Like a middle child, and it's just like you're just there.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that what it is? I thought it was the opposite. I thought it was like I thought when people say middle child, it's more so like you always get acknowledged as a middle child.
No. I guess with like how you deal with primary, high school, you started getting like more like acquainted with like African communities and stuff. Yeah. What led to what you're doing like now?
In terms of
like everything you've been doing, like in terms of like, because I know you're very big in mental health spaces, entrepreneurial spaces. Yeah, you've done also like, I don't know why I'm telling your story, but banking and all of that as well. So I'm just curious how your progression from like how you grew up ended to like where you're at now, like pretty much a co-founder of your business.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a very, very interesting path, to be honest. And I'm not actually too sure, if I'm completely honest with you. Like, I just knew that a lot of it I bring down to is that I was very fortunate with my group of friends. Like, I think that I always had like it's something still that I talk about to this day. I'm like, your friends really shape how your adult life will go. And I was very fortunate in high school to have a very great group of friends that obviously were not trying to do bad things and hang out with the wrong crowds, but they were all kind of like motivated and realized that there's a lot more that they could do. They realized that they were very competent individuals that wanted to do something in the world. And I think that by hanging out with people like that, like Sam, for example, who's also kind of walking that same path, even Femi, all those people that I have in my life, that they were just always striving to be better. And I think in our culture as well, like intelligence and doing more is always something that's banged on about. And I think for me as well, because my parents always used to talk about how lucky I am to be in this country, I felt like it'd be a disservice to not do anything great. So I felt like I had to do it, but I didn't know that it'd be business, truthfully. I thought that maybe I just work myself to like a high paying job or work in corporate or something like that. Yeah. That's kind of what I thought. Business really just came from Femi, because Femi just decided to plug me in to do something, and he felt that I might be a good partner to do it with, and that's really how that took form. I never really thought that I was going to do any entrepreneurship or anything like that. I didn't really have a hatred towards working or being an employee. I had no hatred towards that, to be honest. Yeah. So it just happened that Femi had an opportunity, had an idea, and he felt like this could be something that we could work on, and I felt like, because I'm just that type of person that's always interested in trying to like do other things and do more and be better, I was like, yeah, let's do it. Like, I had nothing to lose. I also think the age had a big factor of it too, because I did it at a point where there was like no risk. I had no partner. I was 19. So it's like, you don't really have anything to lose. But it was it's one of the things that I'm proudest of, because I think that with business, you don't just obviously reap the rewards from growing a business, but the personal development that you gain from it is like so life-changing. And a lot of who I am is because of the experiences and the losses and the challenges and everything that you gain from business. Yeah. Because it's never really business problems. Most of the time it's like personal problems, but you don't recognize that until you do that personal work. And I was forced to do that as growing my business. And I think because that personal development work, that also kind of maybe a bit more passionate about mental health too, because they tie in together a little bit.
So how were you like, because a lot of questions we get asked is pretty much like, how do I make friends? Or it's always like something to do with relationships in a way.
Platonic relationships?
Yeah, all relationships. But how were you consciously aware of the friends you were making? Or would you say you were just blessed that they came to you?
They didn't come to me. Yeah. They didn't come to me. I just felt like, that's a really good question. I mean, obviously I'm blessed. I do agree with that. But obviously there was something consciously that I did, because I could have just been blessed the whole way through for this. I think that for me, I just had a really good understanding of what I liked and what I didn't like, to be honest. And I think that from that, it just made me not tolerate, not that I was like, fuck off, I don't want you to be my mate, but it was more so being like, it's one of those natural things. And I think that we experience it now as we get older, even at this stage that I'm at my life that I'm at, where it's like you have your group of friends, which is cool. Then like you don't hate them or anything like that, like they're great.
Yeah.
But then eventually you find yourself hanging out more with another group of people, a bit more. Then slowly like that friendship starts to separate. Not that like we're beefing or anything like that, but you just find yourself gravitating. Yeah, just fizzles, and you just find yourself gravitating more to a group where you feel more comfortable. There's a lot more things you have in common. The conversation feels natural, because you know how there's sometimes you're chilling with someone and you're really thinking about what to talk about to not make it awkward, and then sometimes there's awkward silence. Yeah, I'm very conscious of that, and I realize like, okay, like the fact that I'm feeling like this in comparison to how I am with other people is a little bit of a sign for me that like maybe this is not my group. Not that they're bad people, they're just not my group of people. Yeah. And I think recognizing that feeling was particularly important. But obviously, at some point, you're just going to have to suffer through that feeling until you can find another community to go with, unless that feeling is because these people are doing things that you're completely against, goes against your values and what you believe.
Yeah.
But that's probably the sign that I recognize a little bit more, because I used to hang out with people in high school that are still my mates, but even during that high school year, that relationship fizzled a little bit. And I started hanging out with more of the people that you see now, like more who don't look like me. But the good thing about those friendship groups is that they were also friends with those people too. So it didn't really feel like I just cut you off. Yeah. So it allowed for a pretty smooth transition.
Yeah.
So I think that for me, like, I think that's probably the first thing, like recognizing what you want and what you don't want is particularly important, because you see a lot of people that are in friendship groups with people that they don't actually like, and they just stay there because they feel like they have no other option. But I think that like, well, there's always an option. You don't have to stay there, and your friendship group is so important. These are people you spend your time with, so you don't want to just be there chilling because you feel like you have to be. You don't. So
definitely, and I think you definitely do have a great friendship group. From from the glimpses I've seen of some of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I honestly feel my friendship group is great. And I think that the good thing about our friendship group is that we've kind of got set very clear expectations of what we have with each other. And I think that's something that people don't often do.
What do you mean? Like you actually said
not really. Not like, it's kind of like, you know how like in workplaces you have those unwritten rules, but you know that you can't do it until someone kind of calls you out on it. I don't have to write it out. It's kind of like that with our friendship group. That was kind of how it was formed, where it's like, where some things are, too below the belt where other things aren't.
Yeah.
And one thing that we did in our friendship group, which was really, really good, and I struggled with this because I wasn't I was very much so a people pleaser, as opposed to someone that would be like assertive and would kind of stand on what I believe in. Yeah. And Femi, if you know Femi, he's the opposite. Like he's very much so like assertive.
Stands on business.
Stands on business. If we ever did something that wasn't right, it's getting caught out and we're discussing it. Like it was never like we just let that slide and I'm going to go bitch about it behind the back. Like, no, we're going to talk about it right now. I'm going to tell you we're going to talk about it. And I think that through having a lot of those discussions and arguments, whatever, you start to realize, okay, like this is not cool, that's not cool. Yeah. And we would never let anything go unsaid. And I think that really helped a lot, because now we just feel like we know each other really well. And you never want to disrespect your friends if you really care about them. True. So I think that through those conversations, I now know what's hurtful and what's not.
Yeah.
And I just do that.
Yeah, it's a very interesting concept, because somebody was like, oh yeah, if you're my friend, I have expectations of you. It's like, that you should have expectations of your friends.
Yeah.
It's the same way you have expectations of your other relationships.
That's right. You should have expectations everywhere, I think. Like you said, your romantic relationships. I feel one thing that people often don't talk about is expectations that people have with families. Like I feel like, why not have certain expectations with families? Yeah. Obviously that you're there with them forever, and you have a certain different tolerance with them. But still, you're not gonna like if every time you come home and your sister's always just like, you come home and like your brother or your sister just bashes you all the time and you're just like, oh, that's just how it goes. You're not going to like that. Of course not. Yeah. So that's an expectation. And they know that too. And if they really care for you, they're not going to want to do that. So I think that you should. Because then the opposite is that you're just going to end up, having, you're just going to have hatred towards them.
Yeah. It's so good to be like, especially like everybody's going to hurt you at some point,
Right.
But it's more about how that is then handled. Like, I've hurt friends,
but
then it's also like, okay, cool. Now that I know I've hurt you, because I care, I'm just gonna do things differently.
Exactly.
Now,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one's perfect. Like everyone, like that's just natural of life that you're going to upset people and hurt people, even in romantic relationships. Like you're going to hurt your partner at some point, and that's okay. It's not something that you should be like, fuck, I fucked up. I should have never done this. It's like what you said. It's like, okay, well, like now that I've recognized that and you've taken inventory of that, just make sure you don't do it again. And if you've done, like, address it. And some people are too standard. Maybe they're egotistical. Maybe they've got too much pride, whatever, and they just don't want to do that. An apology can get you a long way, but not a lot of people want to apologize.
Nah, that's too much of an ego thing.
Yeah.
Definitely. But yeah, so you said something very interesting because it's like, oh, you started your business at 19.
Yeah.
And now you are old. But
how old am I? What's old?
You're old.
We're the same age group.
No, we're not.
Yeah, what are you, like 26 this year? And I'm 28, so yeah, we're pretty close. Pretty close.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we're pretty close. It's all right.
I mean, one of us is going to turn 30 first.
That's all right. I'll see you there. I'll see you there. Am I excited for 30?
Yeah.
Not really. I love 20s. I feel like 20s is great, but I am excited. I am looking forward to my 30s. I don't mind it, but I've always just loved 20s. I feel like this is just a prime year, but I'll probably say that when I'm in my 30s and say that 30s is the best.
Yeah.
But I actually like 20s. I'm not like, I don't have that, oh my gosh, I don't want to be 30. But if I could stay in my, like, at this age, I would stay there for a while, a bit longer.
Yeah, because with your business at 19, you're 28, you're turning 30.
29 this year, next.
Were you 29 this year?
I'm 29 this year.
We're not the same age.
Yeah, we are the same age. We're the same age.
No, we're not.
We're the same age.
You're practically 3 years older than me.
The gap really is 4 years. Within the rule of thumb that my mom always said is that 4 years is your age group. Like I could hang out with someone, like I'm 29, I could hang out with someone up to 25.
So
24, 23 is a bit too much. I could hang out with someone up to 33.
Yeah.
34, 35 is like, I could probably still hang there too, but it's getting a bit on. 4 years is that sweet spot.
So you're saying me and a 21-year-old are the same age?
You guys could hang, but you're not 25, you're 26. So maybe if you're 22 to 26 makes sense.
Okay, let's be specific.
But you could, why not?
Yeah,
you think you could get along? You're a 22-year-old?
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Gen
could.
Z, Gen Z.
You're on Gen Z, exactly
you're
right.
You're on Gen Z though.
I'm not. That's why I'm not. That's why 25 is max. If there's like 2 Gen Z, like you're not, you are Gen Z, but there's a bit more of an extreme. Like everything's like spectrum.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But my question wasn't about age, it was more about your business.
Yeah.
How is that going? Because from 19 to like 29 this year, that's definitely like a whole journey in itself.
Yeah. Decade,
Yeah.
Honestly, business is going really good at the moment. Like there's been a lot of lessons. Obviously, we weren't doing the same business the whole time. Like when we first got into it, we just really, at the start when we started business, ultimately we were just trying to make money. So we're like, okay, what is something that we're good at and we can just make money from? So we were doing fitness at the time. So just like PTing and stuff. I was in pretty good shape back then. I had a bit of ideas around personal training.
Oh, you were personal
Yeah. So I'm just like, I can just do that as a business. And that's what we did for a while. And that went pretty well. There's obviously one thing about us in business is that we've always been good at the element of marketing and sales. But one thing that we neglected was the fulfillment. Like how do we actually deliver what we're saying we're going to, what I'm pitching.
It's like teenagers.
As teenagers, you don't care, like, just give it a check and then like we'll sort it out, stuff like that. And that created a lot of issues in the business. And I think that ultimately stemmed from doing something that we didn't care about. Truthfully, it's like we didn't really care about. Just trying to make cash. But now, as we gotten a bit older and we've kind of found something that I'm actually excited and passionate talking about, like we really care a lot more about what the outcomes are of the product or service that we're offering, which is just a psychology clinic and the psychologists that we have on board, and also doing something that's actually going to make a difference in people's lives. And I think that evolution has been particularly interesting because everything that we now do in business at the moment, like it's kind of focused a little bit more on the values, what the customer's going to feel like, taking more consideration to what our clients are actually saying about the service that we're offering, as opposed to like, how can I just get more people through the doors? It's about like, well, if we're going to do that, what does that mean for our existing customers? So that journey has just been, from a business perspective, has been particularly interesting, but it's been really, really good. And you learn a lot from it, not just from like a business acumen, but just from just personal as well, in terms of like how you manage your own personal finances, how you show up as a person, like all of those things.
How you show up as an employer and everything.
Yeah, how you show up as a boss, how you lead people as a leader too. it's interesting. But the only challenge is that most business owners find is that you're constantly thinking about the business. So it's also difficult to be present sometimes, which is another thing because, and that's probably the only thing that I think that was a bit of an issue growing up, was that in my early 20s, it was that you're always thinking about business, you're hustling so much that you forget to like smell the roses, you forget to look at your accomplishments, you forget to actually be there when you're out with your friends or you're celebrating occasions because you're just thinking about some business stuff. But those were prime years, and now as I reflect, I'm like, damn, like those were like the best times. My mind was somewhere else. So that's the only thing that's a tricky part sometimes.
But I remember I started having this rule with you and Sam and Raj at some point. Just like, if we're eating together, I don't want to hear a word about business.
So anything you want to talk about, it's a problem. So and that was even the same with Femi and I. So we really had to kind of condition ourselves to be like, we're not going to talk about this. But we wanted to do it in a way where it wasn't forced, because I don't like forced things. Like, I want things to be organic. I want to talk about what I want to talk about. So if it means that I want to talk about business for whatever reason, like, I'm just going to talk about it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, can't talk about business because I'm here. It's like, no business. I'm going to say what I'm going to say. I think for me, it just was more so just taking a bit more interest in that, like, life is not just business. So I was just taking a bit more interest in what people were doing with their life. And I think that just naturally evolved in us having more conversations about that as opposed to business. You know what I mean? But maybe that comes from the growth of business too, where like business is not that stressful. You're like, okay, I can think about other things.
I mean, that's good. That just means like you guys are succeeding.
It's going well. So we're not too, it's not fun of mind. Like it's always going to be on your mind, but it's not fun to mind.
Because I know the stress of like being in a struggling business and waking up and hyperventilating. Like, shit, what am I going to do?
What am I going to do? You check the, like, fuck that, I don't want to get that email from that customer. Fuck, I got that email from that customer.
I don't want to look at my bank account.
You don't want to look at it like, fuck. But you, I mean, like, how was your experience? Like, you know, you obviously were doing your thing with what do you call it? Do you call it BFG, open loans?
It's very confusing to me.
Like, what do you call it?
I said BFG because it was BFG
when you were doing it.
Yeah. I think it was pretty fun because I started it like when I was 21 with Sam, similar to you. Right? Sam had the idea, and I was like, cool.
Was Sam 24 with the idea?
Because I'd met Sam. When did I meet him?
In Singapore,
2018.
Singapore?
Yeah. We met in Singapore first.
Yeah.
Then like a year later, he hit me up. I was like, cool.
Do it. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
But how was that? And even you guys had a period of time that I remember when things were just suddenly accelerated. Things were working really well, and then all of a sudden it was like, wow, we got all this money and we're gonna hire this team.
Let me tell you, like when I looked at the motivations when I looked at the bank account, I was like, damn.
Yeah, right.
We're really like going far. And those are the really like great highs. Then you'd obviously hit your, once you start paying people, you're like, damn, actually no.
Yeah.
But I think those are like really, for me, it was a very learning moment. Because one, I'd gotten into the business like, obviously I come from Zim, came to Australia. I had like this whole confidence is like, I'm a teenager, I'm gonna rule the world. You feel like you
take over the world, nothing can get in my way.
Then you come here, I came here by myself, no family, nobody, And then I'm just like, no, I can take over the world. My parents don't understand what's happening because they've never had to leave the country and study.
Really, they never left the country?
Obviously they've left the country.
Like traveled, but But never like Mike had to settle in another country.
No, at that time, no. My dad did then like a few years later for work and stuff. But at that moment, no. Like my dad was like, cool, your monthly allowance is 300 USD, which is about 400. At the time it was like 500 AUD, 600. It's like, you have to survive the whole month with this money. Man, I'm just like, people spend $400 for groceries.
Like that's a week. That's not getting you far. Shit.
So for about 3 years, I was like trying to hustle, trying to get a job. Could not get a job. So I'm just like, cool, I need to make the 600 last for a month. That's all I know. Luckily, obviously, rent was paid. Electricity was paid and everything. It was just managing that money. So going to like BFG, I was just like, cool, my confidence levels are down. I'm very more in my shell than I usually am. I'm very much like, I don't know if I can do anything. BFG comes along and it's like you're being thrust in the deep end. you have to start a business, you have to have employees under you, you have to pitch to investors, you have to like talk to all those like CEOs and stuff from huge organizations, international companies and everything. You're just there in the front, and in my head I'm like, I'm being a hypocrite right now. I don't feel like I can physically do this, or I can do this. I don't have this
imposter syndrome, huh?
Yeah, it was huge when I was like there and stuff.
Yeah.
But I feel like it was amazing. It taught me a lot that I can definitely like do anything I put my mind to.
100%.
Yeah, all your CEOs are faking it as well,
yeah.
you know?
You get some different type of confidence when you run a business and you've got it to a certain point. Like, I think that, like, because now you obviously did that, now you're back to work. How do you feel in that environment? Do you feel a lot more like, I just do my job and I leave? Do you think a little bit more around like the operational sides of even the company that you work for? Like, how does that transition feel like?
It's really weird. Like, it is so strange because like coming into it now, I'm just like, oh wow. I'm seeing it from like, what I was talking to you earlier, I'm seeing it from like a different perspective. Like, now an employee perspective, you know, as opposed to an employer. I'm seeing things that I could have 100% have done better with BFG. Or things that we can definitely improve if I like decide to go back to BFG and stuff. Well, if I'm welcome back.
You're welcome back. Even if you did your own thing, right? Like these are
like,
skills that take you forever. So transferable.
Yeah. So now I'm looking at it, I'm just like, my mind is constantly on fixing things, fixing and improving processes, being like, we could actually do better as a company in this. Yeah. But then at the same time, I'm just like, I can't be saying this because it's not my place.
Exactly.
You know? Like, I'm getting paid to do a job. I cannot be like thinking about like extra things like that. So I'm just like, cool. Yeah. But I'm still like thinking, like your mindset definitely changes when you do a business. Like, you're thinking of so many different things.
100%.
Yeah. But how was it for you? Like everything, like from, because you did like fitness and now you're doing mental health services. How many pivots did you actually do? Because we pivoted every week.
Yeah, we did. I think the business changed quite a few times, probably 3 times. So we did fitness. Then after the Amazing Race, we're like, okay, let's do mental health. And obviously because of the experience we got from the fitness stuff, because we did programs, we knew how to run a pretty good program virtually. So we're like, let's see if we can do that for mental health, which we're really, really excited about. We invest a lot of money into doing those things. And it was actually really great. It's something that we still speak about to this day. I was actually watching it the other day. I'm like, wow, this was a great course or program that we created around stress and anxiety that was written by and viewed by a psychologist. That was actually getting people really, really good results. It just became a little bit too risky because of the presentations that were coming that were a little bit outside from what we were trying to do. But obviously as clinicians registered by ARPA, you've got like a duty of care. So it's like you can't just ignore it or it's your registration on the line. So it was just like, okay, let's pause that for now. It's something that we certainly want to revisit. But then after that, we just went straight to therapy because we knew that with COVID, like that's what a lot of people wanted and the government was actually supporting it with like the mental health care plans and the rebates and things like that. So we're like, this makes more sense. This is what people actually expect when they're engaging with a service. This program is new, it's cool to them, but they weren't really, it was just new. That's the only thing. So we did about 3 pivots. This pivot has been going, like we've stuck with this. This is the longest. Like the whole time, this is the only time that I felt like, okay, I'm actually running a business. That's what it feels like that. I've got customers that are happy. I've got employees that are happy. I feel confident enough to speak to my customers and know that they're not going to yell at me or be dissatisfied. Like they're happy with what we're doing. This is the only time, truthfully, throughout this whole time that it's felt legit. Yeah. You know, we've got big partnerships as well. We've had conversations with massive organizations, massive insurance companies. It just makes sense. And it's just interesting because I never really view myself as like an expert in the space, even though I've really been doing this for quite a long time, even in the clinical setting. But even when you speak with these companies and employers and you're doing EAP stuff and the way they just like view you as like, oh, you're someone that knows what you're talking about. It's just like, it's a really weird feeling. You're like, oh, like it's kind of like that imposter syndrome. It's like, oh, like I don't really view myself as that guy because I like mental health, but I never like to associate myself as like, I'm the mental health guy. Because then everyone feels like they can just, like there were times where I'd go out and I'm like, oh yeah, we do this. People know it. And I don't know, people just sometimes feel like they just want to open up and now start telling. It's like, because I told you I'm this person, you feel like you can now just tell me everything that's going on
in your life,
in your life, all your struggles and get advice around medication and stuff like that. And I'm like, not that it's a bad thing, because I enjoy the conversations. I love that people feel like they can open up and stuff. But it's just one of those things where I'm like, oh, like, I hope you don't fully perceive me as this complete mental health person, because at the same time, I'm also got my own identity. I do a lot of silly things that you probably wouldn't associate with like a mental health clinician, but I'm that's what I do. Yeah. So it's just one of those interesting things that I'm still trying to navigate through. Yeah. But aside from that, I love what I do. And I think that maybe just being real and raw and being black in this space also really helps, particularly with your generation.
My generation.
Your Gen Z. I think you guys love that, like that.
Yeah, because when I'm looking for like therapy or whatever, I'm looking for one woman to like a black person.
Yeah.
If I find a black person, somebody from like who's cultured.
Yeah.
Very cultured, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that it's just been cool. It's a different spin on mental health, because I think a lot of people normally associate therapy to be like this serious, sit down with like an older person and let's really talk. And maybe that's why there's a little bit of a stigma. People are afraid to do it. But I think that when you can make it a little bit more inviting, a little bit more just normal, and it's run by people that are just chill people too, I think it makes it a little bit more inviting for people to engage. So doing it this way and doing what we do, I'm really, really actually generally invested in the mission. What's our mission? We want to make mental health accessible to everybody. We really actually, like, I don't just say that, like, because like, some people will be like, oh, okay, well, like, obviously therapy still comes at a price.
Yeah.
I'm still really to be like, I will like give you this session for free if you need it. Like, I'm more committed to be able to be like, I don't want to feel like, well, you're really looking, especially because the way that we intake people, we have a conversation with them. So you've told me stuff.
Have you ever wondered what makes a great podcast into a phenomenal sensation? The secret sauce is your support. And what we find interesting as we look into our analytics, whether that is YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and more, is that many of our listeners haven't hit that follow or subscribe button.
Now we've got a favor to ask you. We've got a bold dream to become one of the top 10 podcasts, not just in Australia, but in the world. But we can't do it without you. Your follow, your support is our cornerstone of this dream. It's how we grow, improve, and make this dream a reality. So in whatever platform you're tuned into, just hit that follow, subscribe button, and it just all starts with you.
So whether it's YouTube, Spotify, or Apple, please hit that like or subscribe button. And I promise you that this podcast would only get better and better. So let's go back to the episode. Enjoy the show, and thank you for being part of our global citizen family.
And then when I say the price and you say you can't do it, I'm like, that shouldn't be a reason why you can't get help. Because even you just having this conversation with me was a massive step for you. You don't even know me and you've told me everything. I'm not just going to tell you, okay, well, sorry, because you can't afford it. So like things like that are examples of us to try to make things more accessible. And price is just one example of access. Like there's so many other things, like even just like what we were speaking about, we were talking about like the people that operate the company, right? Or the type of therapist that you're looking for, like a black person, for example. It's like not all clinics have a black person in there. And we know that that's a big thing for a lot of people. So people can be like, oh yeah, there's a clinic there, but there's no black person. So far, I'm not going to seek help. So those are all the things that we really think about when we talk about access. And we're really trying to solve that. Even people that speak different languages, people that are available after hours, people that are older, younger, people that communicate in a certain style. Like that's what that looks like for us. And we're trying to solve that.
That's very interesting. I'm not very curious. I'm very much going, have you ever watched The Diary of a CEO?
No, I haven't.
Never heard it?
No.
Okay.
Wait, who?
Diary of a CEO with Steve.
Yeah, with Steve Barrett or something like that. Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm going into this.
Yeah.
Beyond Blue,
Yeah.
Haven't they shut down?
Beyond Blue? Not that I'm aware of.
No. There's a company that's shut down as mental health. So I'm just wondering, when you say like your mission was like making mental health accessible for like everybody.
Yeah.
Like right now at this stage of your lives, how are you doing that? Like what's like your pathway? Is it more so around like, because you talk about EAP, people don't know that it's like employee programs.
Assistance program,
Yeah.
So how are we doing that now?
Yeah.
Well, I think right now it's about letting us know that we exist, firstly, because a lot of people don't actually know that our service exists. So that's probably the big thing, because the issue right now is that the psychology services have been inundated. Like there's a massive waiting list for people to engage with psychologists right now. And obviously like people like want to speak to somebody, but they have to wait like 6 weeks, 4 weeks, or that to engage with services. So the big thing for us now, firstly, is that we want to let people know that we're here. We've got no wait times. If you want to speak to somebody, you can speak to someone pretty quickly. So that's kind of one of the ways that we're trying to address that. So we're trying to always make sure that we're hiring, we have enough staff that if you want to speak to somebody relatively quickly, if it's urgent, you can. Another way that we're trying to do that as well is that we're also trying to tackle people in different areas, such as in the workplace, you know, like through EAP, where like a lot of mental health challenges and a lot of things that people experience actually happen at the workplace. So if we can provide more awareness there by being there, doing lunch and learns, educating people a little bit more about that. All we're trying to do is encourage people to take that step. That's all we're trying to do. Just like, let's have the conversation. So that's kind of the ways that we're doing it. Right now, what we're also doing is that for like every person that's on the fence around therapy, we don't charge them. You can come in, do it for free, see how you feel about it. Because I know that sometimes when people are making decisions, they're like, oh, I want to, like, there's a few things, like one being like, I don't want to pay for, if you've done therapy before and you're trying to find a psychologist, you don't want to pay and be like, oh, this was the wrong psychologist. So doing those type of initial consults for free also helps people get in the door. And also people that are just thinking about it and they're like, oh, I'm not too sure about it. This is just an easy way. There's some form of value. There's some form of introspection that you've now gained from doing that. And that's all you kind of need. So that's kind of what we're doing at the moment.
Oh, cool. Wait, so did you guys break even? You're obviously broken even as a company, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
How many people do you have now?
And as a staff now, we've got 16 psychologists at the moment. And then we had, obviously me, Femi. Yeah, just there's 18 of us at the moment.
18?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, we just got a partnership as well. So that started, that I think you know about already. Yeah. So we're expecting over time that there's probably a few more that will grow. So we're hoping by the end of the year, maybe there's 40 of us by that point. So that's the plan if everything goes well.
What are you going to do with 40 people under you?
I'm going to deal with it. Yeah. I realize I can't. You need to bring somebody to help manage them.
Yeah.
I can't. I tried to manage it. I'm just like, man, I'm like, a lot of things that you're missing. Like we're surviving, but there's a lot of things that you're missing, like quality control, even like having like an actual, what's the term I'm looking for? Like all our staff are psychologists, majority of them. Yeah. But you need to have someone to manage the psychologist too.
HR team?
You need a HR person, but you also need like a clinical lead, like somebody that's actually got like very senior as a therapist that can support psychologists, because that's predominantly what we do. Like in any cases that are quite complex, or there's somebody that's going through something that's tricky and it's difficult to navigate with, like you need to have those things in place. So that's probably what that would look like when it goes to that scale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is exciting.
But till then we're okay.
Do you guys have plans to go into NDIS or not?
Not at the moment. We did try it, but not necessarily at this stage.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we've done it before. It's just that because one thing that we also need to keep in mind is the scope. Like even though we want to be accessible to everybody, realistically we also can't be to everybody. And part of our role is also recognizing that, because it's like, I can't say that my business is going to be the thing that's going to solve the mental health crisis. It's not. Of course not. Like the government hasn't even solved it yet. It's a big problem. Yeah. But I think a big part of our role is the collaboration piece, like recognizing who's appropriate for who, obviously being healthcare. So like some patients that come to us, we're only online, we're only telehealth. Yeah. So for like kids, for example, we're not sometimes the most appropriate for kids. We're not the most appropriate for people that have got complex presentations. Maybe that's like psychotic presentations. We might not be the best for them. NDIS, some of them come with a lot of comorbidities that make it a little bit challenging. That online might not be the best place for them to go. But recognizing that's important and being able to be like, okay, well, if I can't refer you, let me help you go somewhere else. And that's also another big part of access, where it's like, well, could we be, if maybe we could also help psychologists, but we can also help people that need to get help. Like maybe we can guide them in a direction so that like if they don't know where to go, they can speak to somebody that can guide them. Like that's another way of us being able to kind of solve that mission and make mental health accessible, because people that are often don't know where to go are just not going to do anything. Yeah. And they're just going to let that thing manifest still and become a problem. And that's what we're trying to reduce. So there's all these ideas. There's so much that we can do.
But even now, I'm just like, aren't you guys working with universities yet? Because they have programs like this.
Yeah, they do. They do. Universities, we're not doing universities yet. It's a tricky thing to tap into, because a lot of them also have like you said, mental well-being, EAPs. universities have like a psychology faculty already. So like they've got like their little like provisional psychologists that also provide counseling for people. So there's a lot of things, and there's a lot of people that are doing a lot of good work. So it's like, it's not to shit on anything that they're doing. It's just more so being like, okay, well, like,
that's good. Yeah.
There's any other areas, let's see how we can do.
Some of them have like really long wait times as well.
That's right. So it's like, if you want to, you can do this too. Yeah. Exactly. So that's the goal. That's our big thing. That's what we're trying to do. And that's how we're doing it at the moment.
Okay. So what's next for you? Like you talked about like separating your identity from being a mental health person to now like just doing your own thing. But what's actually next for you?
Well, look, right now, it's just really, all my focus right now is really trying to be able to grow this business as big as possible at the moment. So that's really what we're focused on doing right now. So this year is really all just about that. I feel like we've got pretty good momentum. So it's just continuing on doing that, but also at the same time trying to live my life. Like I want to be able to create something that, to a degree anyway, I haven't got clarity on under what that would look like. But what I want to be able to do is create something where it's like, it's not all consuming. Like I can still have my life too, but also grow something that's impactful. So that's where we're at the moment. We're trying to find that sweet spot. But right now, obviously, if I'm realistic, I'm definitely not in the middle. It's definitely more on the business, less about like my personal life. So I also want to keep that in mind because you're not going to be young forever, you know? Exactly. So
what's one thing you really want to do before you hit 30 or like...
What's one thing I really want to do before I hit 30? Yeah. You're making it sound like 30 is crazy. I haven't thought of it like that.
Because then, like, you still are in your 20s. Like, even if you're 30, you're still young because 30 is
still young, in your
20s, you know?
Exactly. That's what I'm like. I don't know if there's nothing that's come to mind where I'm like, what's one thing I want to do before I turn 30? Because I think that what I would do now, I could still do when I'm 30. You know what I mean? But I think that something that I do want to do, I want to travel a lot more. That's definitely something that I do want to do. Yeah. I do train Muay Thai, so I've had thoughts of wanting to compete before I turn 30. So those are some of the things. I do want to run a marathon before I turn 30. So like...
Are you doing city stuff this year?
Huh?
Are you doing city stuff this year? No.
Nah.
Yeah,
I did it like 2 years ago or 3 years ago, something like that. I'd probably want to do. I might, but like that's not a goal for me. Like, 'cause, like I've already done that. Yes, I need. So stuff like that. I think those are some things that I want to be able to tick off. But traveling's really cool. Like I just came back from New Zealand and in Queensland, and that was awesome. I haven't travelled since Hawaii, which was like in 2021 or something like that. So
was it 2021?
I think so, 2022.
I don't know if like my sense of time is wrong because I'm just like, we're literally in the cafe in Melbourne talking about Hawaii.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like, probably actually no, 2022 realistically. Yeah. But still, like, time just flies. And I think that, like, that was the last time I left the country. And the country can give you so much more perspective and just cool experiences. So that's what I want to do more. So now that I've come back from there, want to go to Thailand. And then, obviously, like I mentioned, going back to Nigeria at the end of this year. So if I can do this year, that'd be great. I want to go out a bit more. That's something that I want to do too. Like, nothing, like, massive, but just to be a bit more social out there, do those type of things. That's kind of what's next for me.
Yeah, you definitely have to do December, like.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's me. That's what I'm thinking. Okay. That could change, but that's my plans at the moment.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to Zim.
Are you?
Yeah.
When?
End of this year.
But you went like what, 2 years ago?
Yeah,
you did go 2 years ago. Yeah, it's good. It's a good amount of time. You're not too far. Like you're still there. Technically, like you're still like, what I mean by that is that like you're not someone that like goes to back home and then like you don't go for 10 years. Like you're still pretty frequent.
Yeah,
is that not frequent?
No, because I think obviously COVID messed up everybody.
Yeah,
but I hadn't been back in like since 2018.
Yeah,
2018. Then COVID happened.
So is an ideal cadence? Each year you'd go? If
my mom is watching this, each year. Yeah. Each year. You know? Yeah.
But assume that she's not watching this.
Oh, she's definitely watching.
Yeah, okay then. Yeah, 1 year, that sounds really good. I like that.
No, I think, like, I definitely do want to go to Zim more frequently, but then also, like, as you said, I want to travel to, like, different countries, different places, explore, see what's out there, because I'm not getting... younger.
Yeah, exactly right.
And just like you don't want to get booked down with like getting married and then kids and all of that, you know, just like...
And that will come really quickly. Like that will come really, really quick. So yeah, I think whilst you can, like that stuff is so cool. Even like living in another state or living somewhere else would be really, really cool as well. Like, yeah, that stuff's cool. But I think that's kind of why I really like business, because just giving myself all I want is the options. And that's what business provides for me, I think. That's why I like it.
Could you imagine yourself being an employee again or nah?
I could. Not like, I couldn't be, I'd have to be in a pretty senior role. Yeah, like I couldn't be just like, okay, you're now just like, you just do admin shit, or you just do freaking...
You're clicking out type of thing.
Yeah, I couldn't do that. Like I need to have some sense of responsibility. I feel like I've just learned too much skills that's like, I can't just do this. So so it need to be some type of leadership role if I was, and it needs to be like so flexible. Yeah. Like I feel like it needs to be exec, but obviously I'm not, and I don't feel like I've got enough exec credentials to claim that type of role. No, like I don't have like a big enough track record to be like, I can apply for an exec position.
Yeah, you do.
I don't think so.
I think so.
I don't think so. But that's what I'd like to believe. So I feel like that would be like, if I was to ever go back, it needs to be like something like that, where I'm like overseeing something big and we're trying to drive something and we come with like strategy, like that type of stuff I'd like to do.
Yeah.
That's the only way I could go back, but I couldn't go back because obviously I'm a nurse by background. If I want to be I could not go back to nursing full time. That's impossible. Yeah. Impossible.
You guys are like, I remember you were doing nursing while doing it as a side hustle.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know how you're doing with that shift-wise. Like,
honestly, nursing is like, to be honest, anyone that wants to become an entrepreneur, one thing that I will say is that nursing is the perfect job for anyone that's trying to grow a side hustle.
Really?
It's the perfect gig.
Why?
Because the struggles with business is that you can't really go full in because you've obviously still got to maintain your lifestyle. You've still got commitments.
Yeah.
And most jobs are typically 9 to 5, want you to come in really like specific hours, which are prime hours for the business. But the good thing about being nursing or even just working in any kind of healthcare sector, whether that's NDIS, support work, aged care, is that it runs 24/7. So you could work so hard on the business during the day, do a night shift, cruising a night shift, wake up in the morning and go back and do your same thing, almost like you're there full time, and you just work when everybody's asleep.
Yeah.
Perfect. And you can pick and choose your days and hours that you work. So it makes sense. You could really, if you wanted to, do your business Monday to Friday and just work Saturday and Sunday. And that's it. And maybe you could even work Friday night, Saturday, Sunday. You could do Friday night, Saturday Arvo, Saturday night, Sunday Arvo, and you make the exact same as what you would make if you did it full time.
Yeah.
And still have Monday to Friday to do your normal commitments.
Yeah.
It's ugly, but it's the perfect gig to be able to be like, okay, I don't feel like I can't go all in because I don't have enough money. It's like you can survive. I think that's what stops a lot of people because they're like, fuck, how do I transition properly? Or there's too much risk, where it's like that mitigates the risk.
Yeah, I think now with like obviously flexible working conditions, like people working from home, the commute time is cut. So you definitely do have time.
Yeah. If you could get like a nursing gig that was remote, which I wanted to find something like that when I started, fuck, that's the ultimate bargain. But
I think you're just doing telehealth stuff?
Like it's telehealth stuff. Like I've had thoughts about maybe working in like Lifeline and something, or just answering calls, triaging, because those are 24/7 too. But I was like, nah, I can't do that.
Yeah, my friend does that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she enjoyed it. I mean, she used to do it.
Yeah.
But obviously, like with certain like Lifeline and stuff, the minute you can get literally like your mind can be like so affected by the
exactly.
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
It's tricky, and I think that like a role like that is high volume. I don't think it slows down.
Yeah,
that was the biggest turn off for me. I'm like, oh, it's constant cause. Nah.
Yeah, and just like if you keep on hearing the exact same things, the exact problems.
Yeah.
Like, you need help this kid. You need help this person. You need help this person. Just like
yeah, exactly. But that's what I think. That's my advice. Get a job like that. You can make it work.
Okay. What would you advise like migrants coming into everything, literally, like who want to be entrepreneurs to some degree? Obviously you can't speak on like people fresh coming here, but in terms of what you have seen from your experiences as an entrepreneur, you've interacted with so many different people as well.
In terms of like if they've got an idea they want to get started here, I think that one thing that's particularly valuable in my opinion is having a mentor or somebody that's a few steps ahead of you is really, really important. So if you come in here, you have an idea, I think that's great. If you could find yourself like an incubator, for example, and you can get involved in that, I think that's great. If not, obviously there's a lot of coaches and people that are out there that you can pay for if you can fund that. I think that's extremely undervalued. I had a coach. I invested a lot of money in having like a mentor and a business coach to support me and keep me accountable.
Yeah.
And also support me with personal development. Like over like 100,000 invested in that. And that was so beneficial.
For how long?
I had that for like 3 years.
Okay. So, I was gonna. So you invested 100K into.
Oh no, like over not just for one coach, okay. But like over time, like but they're expensive. So you'd be like maybe one time you might spend like 10,000 or 15,000. You have them for like a year.
Yeah.
And you just like they're your support group, your support person. And I've done stuff like that before, and I found that to be extremely helpful. Like if I didn't have that, it'd be difficult because you don't know what you don't know, and you want to be able to be supported and guided by people that have done it before you and know the ropes and know the obstacles that you're going to run into.
Yeah.
So I think that's extremely valuable. If you can find yourself involved to be something like that. So that's what I would say. I'd say, get yourself involved in something like that, but also don't overcomplicate it. Like just start. Like I think that like sometimes a lot of people spend a lot of time in like the planning and the strategy and trying to get it right. You're never going to get it right. You plan and strategize it, you're still going to fuck up. The best lessons are learned hard, in my opinion. So I think just go in there, get messy, but obviously just be risk adverse. Like don't be silly. Know your risk appetite, know what you're willing to lose, and just go for it.
Okay.
That's what I say.
When I'm probably gonna end soon, but with your 100K, I'm very curious about the whole coaching thing.
Yeah.
When did you know that you needed a coach? Because not a lot of people can be like, let me just spend money, or like, I don't need help, But when did you know, like, okay, how much you gonna invest this amount of money into this coach because I actually need it? Yeah,
look, truthfully, I didn't know. There was never a time I'm like, I need a coach.
Yeah.
But I think that there was just marketing. Like I think that they knew that I had a problem as an entrepreneur. Like they might be like, here's this thing that would help, just marketing, as you would know. Like they had something out there that they knew that I needed, and I downloaded it or got it, and then I had a call from somebody, and they obviously like indoctrinated me around the idea of coaching and what it could be like and what the ROI could be for you if you did something like that. And I think it was just through those conversations that I was like, oh, okay, like I can understand how this would make sense. Obviously very scared about the investment because you're like, fuck, that's a lot of money. I don't know for sure. It's just coaching, blah, 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 blah. But I think that like as any coach would or any person would, they're there to be able to kind of drag you through when you're kind of like doubting yourself and fears in the way. And I was like, yeah, fuck, let's go for it. Obviously, other people could be like, fuck, that's just a hard sell or something like that. I don't know. But for me, I found it to be something that's incredibly valuable. It was risky, but I felt like for the type of person that I am, I operate best when like all the cards are stacked against me. Like I have to make it work. That's when I operate the best.
Yeah.
Like I had to be the type of person where I'm like, fuck, I've just chucked my last $30,000 at this. I've got no other choice. My back's against the wall. That's how I operate best.
Yeah, money talks. I always say money talks, literally. Like, if I'm putting money down, that means I have no choice.
Yeah, because I feel like I've seen so many times when people are like, they want to do this and they're half-hearted in it. And of course, you've got no skin in the game. So you're going to half-ass it. You're going to half-ass it. You're going to be like, doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
I've seen so many people that want to start podcasts, don't even want to invest in equipment. They just do it cheaply. And it's like, well, fuck, you're doing it cheap. Like, what do you expect's going to happen? It's not going to grow. Or if you want to like boost it with ads, you don't want to put $200 down for this, like, which is nothing in the grand scheme of marketing, but you won't even do that.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck, what are you doing then? Like, just, you're begging yourself to stop. Unless you're going to say something you tried, but you didn't really try.
No.
So, that's for me. That's what I would say. So, coaching was for me, and I still recommend it, but for other people, it could be something else. It could be just, I don't know.
Have you like looked for a mentor outside of it? Like, people go on LinkedIn, people have like networking, like, my mentor type of thing. Yeah. Have you done that before? I actually haven't. And, for me, I've had people that have given me advice and mentoring for free. Yeah.
But I'm also a believer is like you get what you pay for. And if you pay for nothing, I feel like you're not going to, and obviously this is not true in all cases.
Yeah.
But just in my experience so far, I've just felt that like, I've got someone that's going to mentor me for free. I'm not going to get all their time and attention. They're not committed to doing anything great for me.
Yeah.
because they're not. Like, why should I? I'm doing this for free, and I also feel uncomfortable pestering you because I know that you're doing me a favor.
Yeah.
So I don't personally like doing things for free. I prefer to pay people because I want them to be like, okay, like, take this serious as I'm taking it, because
it's the bread and butter, so they have to take it
you have to take it seriously. Like, and even if it's someone that doesn't really do this, but I'm asking for the expertise and I'm paying you something to do it, you're gonna take it serious. You're not gonna just waste my time because I'm giving you something, so you know you need to deliver to some extent. Where if it's free, they can easily be like, we're meant to meet now, but fuck, something's come up. I'm not going to change it for this free session. So fuck it, let's reschedule. Let's do this. And all that annoying stuff, which that I just don't like because it actually slows you down. You're trying to get ahead, but that stuff slows you down.
Yeah.
So I prefer to just pay. That's been my learning, even with simple stuff outside from mentoring, even if it's just like, getting like a graphic designer or getting someone you to build like a business tracker to help you analyze the operations, and you don't want to pay, you want to get maybe one of your business analyst friends to do it for you. It's like, they will, but they're going to take their time because it's not urgent. And you can't force them because they know they're doing it for free. So like, you should be thankful. And I just don't like that.
Yeah, I'm the same, because the minute you pay, you get things done quickly. Before you learn quickly. It was like with 3 things, somebody's skills might not be at the best
as well. Exactly.
Like, if something doesn't work, you don't know if it's because it just sucks.
Yeah.
It's a skill or something else.
Exactly
entirely.
right.
Whereas like if you put money in it and somebody is so competent,
yeah,
you know exactly
what happened.
Yeah.
Exactly right. So I don't like free things, to be honest.
I do love free things.
Yeah.
But
like I do. Like if you're gonna give it to me, it's gonna be fresh. I'm definitely taking it. Yeah. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
But for business stuff, I've just learned that, like, I don't know, I don't get the result that I want when I get it for free.
True.
I just don't. So
yes, and some people are more blessed with connections. I'm just like, I'm not gonna look for connections like that. Time is money.
No, exactly right. Like, just if you can give it to me, I can set a deadline, I can set expectations. We can just move on. It's very clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Awesome. So I have a question for you.
Go on.
One, since you work in the mental health space, and obviously since you're Black, my question is, what do you think of like what's happening with the mental health space for Black people in this country? Do you see like the progression with like Black, with Indigenous people? Do you still see like things are like can be improved on? Because a lot of people, as you mentioned before, like they will not go to like mental health services and stuff like that. But obviously now there's a lot more conversations, right? People are now self-diagnosing themselves, be like, I think I do have ADHD, or like that person is a narcissist. Like you hear like there's certain things going around, but people don't really know. Yeah. So what are you seeing right now? Like, what's the landscape like?
For me, what I'm seeing right now is there's definitely improvement for people of color, like Black people.
Yeah.
I'm definitely seeing that there's more conversations around mental health, which is a good thing, particularly around Gen Z. I think you guys are pioneering that a lot more.
Yeah.
Obviously, for the longest time in our culture, people didn't really believe in mental health. It wasn't really a thing at that time. And I think that people are now seeing people from Gen Z from 2 lenses. One being people are talking about it and recognizing that it's real. But at the same time, what we're also seeing is that a lot more Black people, at least in my experience, I've seen are playing around with substances and drugs and alcohol. And as a result of them doing that, they're getting themselves in situations where they're getting diagnosed with like drug-induced psychosis or a psychotic episode. And I'm seeing more Black people hospitalized because of that. Yeah. And I think because their parents are seeing that, they're now recognizing that, okay, like this actually is a bit of a thing. It's not just made up. Like I saw my kid that was raised here experience this, and it's because of this. So I'm actually seeing more African people start using substances a lot more, which is something that's been a little bit more concerning. But I think the good thing though is that more people are willing to have the conversation. I was a part of like a summit last year that was with all African people, and all we're talking about was with mental health, and a lot of people were interested. A lot of parents, millennial parents, were interested in being able to get their kids engaged or a part of some form of either psychologist or some community where they can learn more about mental health, which I think is good. We're not obviously where we need to be, but I think that there's a lot more conversation happening. That's what I'm seeing the landscape to be. The Indigenous sides is a very, very complex issue that's very, very challenging, that has a lot of deep-rooted trauma that's very, very difficult to unpack. I don't know if I can't really speak on that, to be honest. It's so complex. It's so challenging. I don't know if there's been improvement, truthfully. I guess from my opinion, not really. I'm not really seeing much difference there. Like, I mean, I'm seeing some steps in the right direction, but it's just so difficult. It's such a tricky thing, that community. I feel for them. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm not going to get in. I feel like I'll need an indigenous guest to really get into some of the things.
I think that's like, I've recognized for myself, I'm like, there's a lot there. I've worked with a lot of indigenous people. It's very tricky. There's a lot of mistrust. There's a lot of challenges of the things that the government has done to them that makes it very difficult to see them really engage in something that the government's offering. So, yeah, it's tricky. It's very, very tricky.
Okay. Listen. So I have a Reddit story. Not a Reddit story. A Quora story, actually.
A what story?
Have you ever heard of like Am I the A-hole or like those Reddit stories before?
No.
No? Never? Okay.
Nah.
What, I don't say advice because obviously you can't be specific about all of that. So no advice here per se. But what are some ways where people like going abroad can really take care of their mental health? Similarly, like when you did like when you travel overseas, obviously it's like how are you taking care of your mental health and all of that? Like what have been like some of the things for you like when you travel and stuff?
That really helped me. Yeah, that's definitely a difficult question. It's a very broad question, but I think for myself, what helps me when I travel is that I like to detach from what's back home. I find that to be helpful. So, like, for example, when I was in Queenstown last week, obviously, like, life doesn't stop. All your issues in Australia are still going to be there when you come back. I try not to really think about it. I try to be really present. I try to actually practice mindfulness a lot more when I'm overseas. So I try to not even have my phone with me. It's on Do Not Disturb. I try to just really immerse myself in this environment because I know a lot of people go on vacation and holiday to, like, rejuvenate, but you can't rejuvenate if you're still getting all those distractions and everything that's been keeping you stressed and anxious back home with you overseas.
Yeah.
So I like to dissociate from that. I like to detach and try to just enjoy my surroundings and enjoy what I'm doing. I like to still ensure that I'm sleeping reasonably well. I don't like to disrupt my sleep too much because I don't really perform well, and there's a massive connection with sleep and our mental health. I like to still exercise. I still like to remain active. That's something that's really, really good for my brain and obviously the endorphins and serotonin that you experience through exercise. And I guess if you're traveling on your ones, which is an interesting thing, I think that still having that, if you're by yourself and you're solo and you're obviously in another country and you don't really have much people around, I think still prioritizing time for your friends, family, being able to communicate with them and connect with them is important because you can feel very isolated and lonely when you travel by yourself. So I think if there's a form or method that you can communicate on, whether that's FaceTime with your friends, or maybe some people might have a therapist that they've been seeing and they might still want to be able to interact with them when they're overseas. I think that's also something that's important to consider. We had one client that's doing a big trip overseas and they're like, you know what, I still want to be able to interact with my therapist if I feel like I need to. And I'm like, you know, that's like a smart idea. If you feel like you've already got some pre-existing challenges and they might arise overseas. So let me have a method to be able to resolve these issues whilst I'm over there, which is important. So yeah, those are some of without going into specifics, that's some tips, I reckon.
Awesome.
Does that answer your question? I don't know.
I think it kind of does. It made me think, because like if I travel, I do need to like, obviously you have your travel insurance for people who actually need travel insurance.
Yeah.
You have all of that, right? I'm just like, you should have a mental health insurance when you travel too, because you never know what's going to happen.
Exactly. Exactly right. Exactly right. So yeah, that's what I would say. Like, I think what you said was perfect. You know, we always think about the physical issues and what can happen physically, but what about if something was to go wrong mentally? What would we do if we started to suddenly feel upset, low, or depressed? Whatever, you know, how do I look after myself whilst I'm overseas? So, and sometimes the answers that are just really simple. We just don't think about it.
That's true. Yeah. For me, it was always like friends, family.
And that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Awesome. So my question is, this is kind of like ending this podcast.
Go on.
Who would you invite as a next guest? Who should we invite as a next guest?
Who should we invite as a next guest?
Probably somebody here in Sydney.
That's it. Okay, so something that's realistic. Okay. Why? Why can't we say international can be realistic too?
No, because I'm not traveling yet.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, bring them here.
Bring them around Sydney, but yeah.
Nah, what are your audience typically like? Are they're wanting someone that's, you know, who's actually someone that's a very interesting person?
Yeah.
Who would be interesting, especially if your audience is people that are abroad.
Yeah.
Femi's mum's a very interesting lady. She's very interesting. She works a lot with women, particularly. And she does a lot there in the community, particularly in Blacktown with migrants. So she would be an interesting person to speak to, if that's possible. Yeah. I think that's what comes to mind, actually. She does a lot. She's really cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm waiting for that link.
I'll link it. I'll ask for me. I'll do it. Yeah, that's what I would say. You obviously don't want business people, I reckon. Maybe actually, even not, you could even bring like an athlete, like a black athlete would be cool. Like someone that's playing like pretty elite level sport and like the challenges they had to navigating and trying to achieve that success.
Yeah.
That would be cool too.
Yeah, whoever's in your network.
Oh, you're asking for my network?
Yes.
Oh, so you just said like who I like to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, shit. I'll think about it.
Awesome, right. Thank you so much, Nick.
No worries. Welcome. Pleasure.
Yeah. I guess that's pretty much the end. If you really like this, leave a comment, subscribe.
Comment, subscribe, share.
Yeah. Peace.